Clara Reeves had photographed war zones, hurricanes, and celebrity meltdowns, but burnout had caught up with her. She hadn't picked up her camera in months. When her editor offered a puff piece in some forgotten Pennsylvania town, something cozy about a harvest festival, Clara said yes before he finished the sentence. Grayvale. It barely existed on a map. One road in, no cell reception after mile marker 32. The town's website was a single page that hadn't been updated since 2007. But Clara didn't care. She needed quiet. She needed distance. And maybe, just maybe, she needed to remember why she'd picked up a camera in the first place. The first thing she saw cresting the final hill was the orchard. Rows of ancient apple trees, so perfectly aligned, it felt like they'd been drawn onto the land with a ruler. Their canopies arched together in cathedral-like symmetry, casting long shadows across the golden field. The trees were unnatural, too tall, too dark. The apples looked lacquered, almost bleeding red. The town of Grayvale sat just beyond the trees, all stone chimneys and brick sidewalks. Quaint, frozen in time. Clara pulled up to the inn where an elderly woman named Marnie handed her a brass skeleton key and said, kindly but firmly, "Keep your window shut at night, and if you hear something, don't answer it." Clara blinked. "Excuse me?" But Marnie only smiled and turned away. The festival began the next morning. Wooden booths lined the perimeter of the orchard, manned by vendors selling preserves, cider, carved trinkets, and jewelry made from twisted roots. Children ran past her with crimson ribbons tied around their wrists. Everyone wore shades of red or gold. There was music, but no instruments. Just humming, melodic and low, like a lullaby half remembered. Clara started snapping photos. People posed politely, but avoided her lens when she wasn't asking. Some looked nervous, eyes always drifting to the orchard. Then the bell rang. Townsfolk fell silent. From the trees, 12 robed figures emerged, each holding a silver plate. On each plate sat a single apple, perfect, red, glistening. They moved through the crowd slowly, silently, pausing before individuals. Most accepted the apples with reverence. Some wept. One woman screamed and ran. No one followed her. Clara reached for her camera. Click. Nothing appeared. She tried again. Click, click. Still nothing. The procession passed her by. One of the robed figures stopped. He stared at her for a moment. Then he moved on. That night, Clara listened to the wind rattle the old glass panes. Her window was shut tight. Still, she heard whispers. Faint, like they were coming from the orchard, but somehow, inside her room. She tried to record it. Nothing played back but silence. The next morning, she checked her camera. Every image from the festival was blacked out, corrupted, all except one. A photo of her, standing in the orchard, holding an apple. But she hadn't stepped into the orchard, and she hadn't touched a single apple. The timestamp read, October 21st, 3:03 p.m. That was tomorrow. She tracked down Mayor Connors, a tall, soft-spoken man who looked more like a schoolteacher than a leader. "What is this place?" she asked. "Why did I take a photo I don't remember? What happened yesterday? Those people with the apples. What is this ritual?" The mayor smiled gently. "We don't plant the orchard, Miss Reeves. It was here long before us. It chooses who blooms. That's always been the way." "Bloom?" she repeated. "Some fruits fall, some are plucked, some are ready." "You're talking like this is normal." "It is, here." She stared at him, heart racing. "I want to leave." He nodded. "Of course. The road's right where you came in." She packed by noon. By 1 o'clock, she was back in her car, speeding down the gravel road she'd come in on. After 10 minutes, she passed the orchard on her left. 10 more minutes. The orchard was still on her left. The road looped. She turned around. Now the orchard was on her right. No matter which direction she drove, she always returned to the beginning. The trees whispered now, louder than before. They said her name. On October 21st, at 3:02 p.m., Clara found herself standing at the edge of the orchard, trembling. She wasn't sure how she'd gotten there. The light was strange, filtered gold, like dusk at midday. A single apple hung from the nearest tree, lower than the others, within reach. It pulsed. She tried to run. Her legs didn't listen. She reached out. The apple dropped into her hand. Whispers surged in her ears. Voices she recognized. Her mother, her old editor, a lover she'd lost, murmuring, "It's time." She looked down at the apple and took a bite. The next spring, the orchard bloomed early. A new tree stood near the center. Its bark was smooth, its roots curled like fingers through the soil. Some said the shape of the trunk was strange, like a woman in mid-reach, her mouth open in a silent scream. But the townsfolk didn't speak of it. They tied red ribbons to their wrists. They waited for the choosing. Clara's camera was found weeks later, half buried among the roots. It had only one photo left, a perfect red apple resting in an open palm, and the faint reflection of Clara's face in its skin, smiling.